Hello and welcome to the Junkyard Love.
Hey, everything's gonna be alright.
It's all good. It's all good.
The Junkyard Love podcast.
The junkyard.
Okay, well, dude, let's start right here. Good morning, man. Trey, thank you again. Welcome to the podcast. Let's have some fun, man. I want to start with right there. You just told me you're drinking some bone broth that you made at home. You were texting me and you told me that you had like a morning routine, basically. Do you want to start with your morning routine? Like, I think anybody listening would probably benefit from hearing kind of how you live your life in the mornings, ideally.
Yeah, most definitely. And thank you again for bringing me on here. This is a huge opportunity for me. I've been praying and asking for God for a platform, since 2 months ago. And here it is. But yeah, let's delve into it. My rising ritual is what I call it. Consists of waking up around 5, 6 a.m. It's kind of loose. It's not like I don't wake up with an alarm. It's just whenever I rise. And I jump immediately into meditation. And during my meditation, I kind of picture who I envision myself to be. And then I work through it, like what it feels like, what it's gonna consist of, full spectrum. And then I let go. And that's when I go into like more of a transcendental type meditation. I just kind of just float through it. And I always finish in gratitude, but I always do my gratitude a little different. Instead of saying like in my head, like I'm grateful for this or I'm grateful for that, I just picture all the good things that I have going on in my life and I hold the energy of gratitude. So it's more of like a fast-paced slideshow more than, me just listing things that I'm grateful for. And then after my gratitude and meditation and everything, I jump straight into some sort of movement. I call it my mobility exercises and I take every single one of my joints, muscles, and ligaments through its full range of motion multiple times and kind of just wakes the body up. And then I go into, if I don't work out, I'll just jump straight into a shower and finish cold. Always cold finish, because I don't have a cold plunge yet. As soon as I get a cold plunge, it's game on. I'm going to live in that thing. But
I need
then
one
I
too,
finished.
dude. I need one too.
Oh, I know. But as soon as I tried it, I was like, I need one of these.
Yeah, I'll do the bathtub once in a while, but it just doesn't hit the same.
No, you got to embrace the suck, and it doesn't suck quite as much in the shower. But then after I finish the meditation, I get right into it, and I'm normally up with something healthy for breakfast. I'll jump with like 2 eggs, 2 eggs and a piece of toast or bone broth. And like today, I had the bone broth, and we get our bones straight from the butcher. So, well, not even a butcher, it's just a farmer that butchers. And we just boil them overnight. So we have the bones get like jelly, by the time that they're done boiling.
Right.
And I just add like some super mineralized salt to it, and that's breakfast.
Hell yeah, yeah. And then you're ready to rock and roll. That's like an ideal morning for you right there.
Yeah. I found that the more that I eat for breakfast, the lazier I am, you
Word,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, so I try to stay full, stay hungry, stay motivated, and stay energetic.
Yeah, do you find benefit from kind of waking up and not immediately eating breakfast? Because that's how I am.
Yeah, definitely. If I wake up and I immediately eat, then I find myself scrolling instead of like posting or creating content or, replying to people with something meaningful as opposed to just getting on Instagram and scrolling and wasting time.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's something good to be said about the where you allow your levels of consumption to roam like first thing in the morning. We all know the feeling of we do,
Hmm.
lean over and scroll or something, and then we just go, I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah,
And then on the
it's
offside, we
pointless.
yeah, it's like we just have to repeat the same lesson for some reason. But yeah, it's good to have that mental diet in the morning as well as that physical diet, and then also not eating, you know, complete garbage is best you can. It's like you live your life once in a while, but turn out to eat total garbage first thing in the morning. It's just harder to have a soft mental day throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody about that just last night. He was going through this depression phase. He's like, "Oh, I like woe is me," the victim mentality, what I preach about on my Insta.
Hmm.
He's just talking about everything negative, and I'm telling him like this is confirmation bias. Like what you see, what you focus on is what you're gonna see and what grows essentially. And it starts with what you put into your engine. You know, if your body is an engine, what kind of fuel are you giving it? And he's telling me he goes to like Burger King every day after work and, eats McDonald's and Happy Meals or whatever it is, And I'm like, think about that, bro. Like, you are literally putting garbage into your body and you're expecting a high output human being to be the product of that.
Mm-hmm,
It,
mm-hmm.
it, not likely.
Yeah, it's like yeah, like it's our fuel resource, you know. Like if you put old crappy oil in your car, it's not going to run as good as like some healthy good oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's also, I think there's something to be said about like the obviously all the preservatives and all of those things, but kind of just like the energetics of too much fast food. I think there's something to be said about like someone who's isn't incredibly happy with what's going on in their life, like what they might put into your food. Not that everybody who works at fast food is, unhappy. That's not what I'm like entirely insinuating, but sometimes I feel that food is this sacred thing. Like we have been, Ramana Maharshi, who is Ram Dass's guru, uh,
Hmm.
like two of the huge things that he would always say to Ram Dass is Ram Dass, feed people and love everyone. And like that was always Ram Dass would always just go through like how he'd do those things, and like he'd also say feed people. And there was all these mystical stories about these gurus who would like find ways through their spiritual way of like there's only a tiny amount of soup in this bowl, but we have to serve 50 people. But somehow, if you just believe in this guru and you just keep serving people, you will just don't look at the ladle. Soup will still come, and you'll feed all these people,
Hmm.
and that'll be a bottomless thing of soup. So I don't know. I just feel like there is a connection to us through the years and years of communities and just being humans when it comes to serving food, when it comes to like you're giving someone nutrients in life. How many days can we really
Hmm.
go without, without nutrients, without food? It's like who we are. And so when
That's
it's,
interesting too.
yeah, yeah, isn't it? I just think like there might be some sub perceptual effect in some way on someone dissatisfyingly serving you what we call food, and it's really like preservatives and garbage and stuff that doesn't make you feel
Yeah.
good. It's mouth pleasure for the sake of like non-nutrients long term. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just
There's
seen
some
something
connection.
about Oreos that,
Mm.
obviously Oreos are garbage, but it's apparently they're 85% preservatives. 85%. Like, what is the other 15% though, you know?
Yeah.
And another thing on food, I seen this guy who, the longest recorded fast in history, he went 385 days without food.
Dude.
300, and he cured every disease that he had in his body, like I've fasted, don't get me wrong. The longest I've gone was like 40 days without food.
Nice,
And
dude. Dang.
that was a struggle. And there was like it wasn't I was having liquid. So I mean I was having like water and stuff, but in between that I was going days where I was just dry fasting as well. And
Mm.
the dry fasting that's a mental game, because if you have water, you're like, oh, at least I have this to rely on. I could just drink a bunch of water. I feel full. But then when you have those dry fasting days, it really gets mental, and it
Hmm.
it really breaks you down.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it, do you ever get, I think the thing with me when I try to do a long fast is I get to this weird point where fear kind of wins. And I go, I think maybe this is a bad feeling. I basically, because you're analyzing how you feel and you're like, does my stomach acting weird and my skin is being this and what, there's a
Yeah.
lot of changes going on. And so I think when I throw in the towel earlier than I had originally wanted to, it's usually because my body is saying like there's something wrong or like this headache is a really bad headache and you should really eat, and then I cave in. Do you experience anything like that? Is that part of your mental game? Like you got to just not listen to
Yeah,
those voices
yeah,
or
100%. That's psychosomatic self-destruction is what it is,
mm,
and you're gonna be your best friend or your worst enemy when it comes to a fast, because you can psych yourself in or out of any situation. Think about anything you do in life, like when it comes to even a podcast, your first one, your nerves probably got you. Your nerves were like, "Oh man, I'm gonna misspeak or I'm gonna do this on camera, and people aren't gonna like my podcast or people aren't gonna like me." But then on the flip side of that, if you're like, "Oh, I'm the shit," like I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Like everyone's gonna love me because I love me. I'm awesome, you know? And the same thing goes with your food and your fasting. If you believe that you can do 40 days, then you're gonna do 40 days. The only reason that you wouldn't be able to do those 40 days is because of self-doubt.
Hmm. Okay, so say someone is on that, they're about to go on 40 days or whatever their version of 40 days is. Maybe it's 2 days, whatever. And they have this initial start point. They're like, I believe, and it's true, and they believe it, and then they're like, dude, I'm in. Like, this, seriously, I'm doing this. There's no way I'm not. And then they get to hour 36, they're gonna go 48, and then they get that voice. Like, what? How do you bridge the gap between who chose to set out on that journey and who you are, like right now, 36 hours in, who's just feeling like they're getting their ass kicked? What do you have to say?
That it comes down to willpower, you know? You gotta have the willpower. Your willpower is a muscle, essentially, and the more that you exercise it, the stronger it is. So if you refrain from eating fast food for a week, the next week is going to be a little bit easier, and so on and so forth. So if 48 hours is too hard for you for a fast, start with 72, or start with, 24 hours, and then work your way to 48, then go to 72. You just got to strengthen that willpower, and then eventually your mind is going to be your biggest advocate.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's so perfect because when it comes to meditation, that's the thing that I'm always saying as well is, yeah, maybe when you sit down, you're gonna go, dude, my mind is chaos and I'm just too ADHD and I can't personally meditate and my brain specifically out of all the other 8 billion people on the planet is like it can't meditate and just all the things, but comparing it to going to the gym and like, bro, you don't walk into the gym and just lift up a 50 pounder and start curling it. You got to go every
No.
day and you start with the fives and then you go to the tens and the 15s and then 12.5s if the 15s feel too heavy. And every
Hmm.
day you're building that. It's like it's interesting because so we have the brain, we have all of our organs, your heart's a muscle, all of our physical things here, and then we have the subtle body, the mind. Like where is the mind? Like where you know what I mean? Like there's the brain. Like is your mind just in your brain? Well, no, it's like it's the whole experience of your body. And so if we think of part of the human experience being, that the physical body, you can go to the gym and prove all that to yourself in real time. Like go to the gym, work out for 3 weeks, and you literally are like, I'm taller and I stand up straighter, and yes, my shirt is a little bit tighter. It's proving myself in real time. And the subtle body, the mental version of our body, of who we are, is also in need of that maturation through daily work, through the 5 pound curls. Like you said,
Yeah.
showing up and earning it, like proving to yourself, all right, dude, I normally eat every 3 hours, but I'm gonna eat for 4 hours or not eat for 4 hours. Okay, I
Hmm.
did that, I'm gonna wait 16 hours until I eat next. I've never done that my whole life. And then you prove to yourself that you can do it. And then suddenly you're that new person. You're standing as the person who has now fasted more than 16 hours, more than 15 hours. And so you
Yeah.
can then act from there. So yeah, man, it's that subtle body muscle building, right? You got to be a subtle body muscle builder.
Yeah, it kind of ties into that expression, fake it until you make it.
Mm,
Your belief creates your reality 100%. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I kind of tie into that, with this subtle body perception that you have and meditation. So when you meditate, obviously you have this like plethora of ideas, thoughts, feelings, emotions just flowing into your head simultaneously. And in order to disassociate, um, I actually got this from an author. His name is Ken Wilber, and he calls
mm,
it the witness state.
mm,
And the witness state is essentially stepping back from everything physical, emotional, and spiritual and realizing that you are all of the above, right? And you're just observing it. So you're observing all these thoughts, feelings, and emotions that flow through your awareness. And when you have that, when you step back into this witness state, all of a sudden the things that affected you no longer have precedence or hold on your life because they're not you. The true you is the witness behind it all.
mm, mm. Yeah, you are the one that observes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, so how is that? I feel like trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who's listening, who's like never really like dove in that deep on meditation or any of those like getting meta on your own thoughts. I think, when I was in probably my worst version of like my victim mindset, when I was depressed and all these sorts of things at my worst, I think that I thought I was my thoughts. You know what I mean? So can we talk a little bit more about, maybe we could start with like how it first maybe started for you, bro? Like how you first kind of started going, you know what? Like, oh, I can like observe my thoughts rather than just get caught up in them. I mean, it's such a huge opening when it comes to the awakening path, when it comes to like taking control of your life. So, man, I'd love to know how that was for you.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it started with the awareness of I was using victim mentality as a crutch. I was
Mhm.
using it as leverage to get what I wanted. I was using it to because I was in prison. I spent a decade in prison.
Mhm.
And what little outside interaction I did have, I manipulated through victim mindset, right? Victim mentality. Because victim mentality is just inverted narcissism. Instead of you saying like, oh, woe is me, or so like instead of like narcissism where you're like, oh, I'm so great, look at me, look at me. Uh, Victim mentality is like, oh, look how horrible my life is. I need you to take sympathy on me. And then you leverage that for manipulation, like, oh, I need $20. So put 20 bucks on my books so that I can get some food or, you know, whatever the situation may be. But instead of demanding admiration, you demand sympathy. So, I mean, they kind of play into each other. But for me personally, I had to recognize that I was using victim mentality as a crutch in the first place and realize that I was, narcissistic, you know, like that at its root. That's just narcissism with a different hat.
Yeah.
And once I realized that I was narcissistic, and this was due to information reading. I read a book called Dark Psychology. And
Mm.
dark psychology doesn't mean like intrinsically evil. It can be used for that, but it was more like neurolinguistic programming and recognizing your own triggers, your own fallacies in life, recognizing how you use, manipulation or narcissism to get the things in life that you want. And because of this, I realized like I'm messed up. Like I'm a messed up individual. And because of that, look where I am. I'm serving a 15-year sentence in a Tennessee prison 1,500 miles away from anyone I even know or love, and I don't get a single letter or phone call. Like I am a product of my mindset at this point.
Mm.
And once I realized that, I started changing my mindset one day at a time. Every time something came into my awareness, I was like, is this me speaking or is this the victim version of me speaking? And it wasn't until I had my lowest point, like I literally hit rock bottom. And my rock bottom was I overdosed in a Tennessee prison. I was doing tattoos, one day, and I'm a tattoo artist. So I'm setting up for a tattoo. Somebody comes in and they're like, hey, do you want a little bump? That was my turning point because it was fentanyl.
Mm.
That fentanyl put me out. I woke up 18 minutes later, 6 cans of Narcan and about 3 shocks with the paddles. And I came to, and the first thing I thought was, like everything in my life needs to change because everything in my life up to this point led me to this moment,
Wow.
So it just starts with recognition.
So do you consider yourself, I mean, I'm sure you've done some research and come across this. Do you think you had a near death experience like that like is really kind of a turning point and that like kind of popped you out into this new like purpose driven?
Yeah, 100%. The first and foremost, at the time I had a son and my partner, Chelsea, who you met, we were
Mhm.
separated. So they weren't in my life at all. The first thing I seen, like while I was gone, I seen my son and all I held was regret. Like,
Mm.
this is like, I'm gonna die in a Tennessee prison and my son's not gonna know who I am?
Mm.
So I had this like overwhelming sense of regret for the way that I led my life? And as soon as the regret faded, something else took over, and it was perspective. And I all of a sudden, instantaneously, like it was literally instantaneously, I had like an overwhelming sense of perspective on life. Like everything that came into my awareness from that point on, I knew whether or not it was going to serve the version of myself that was going to move and propel me forward in life, or it was going to keep me in stagnation.
What do you think? Why do you think you were ripe in that moment? I know that's a weird word to use, um, but like, what? Like, do you think it was? I mean, I guess I'm exploring what a rock bottom is in some ways, but like, what is it that finally breaks the dam and gives us that perspective? I mean, I had a similar experience myself. What do you think that you know not only brings us to be ripe, but makes us ripe for that time, that thing, that environment?
I think it is a case by case basis, because each person is different. Everybody's rock bottom is going to be different. For me personally, it took losing my life, because I've been through some stuff, man. I've lived a crazy life. I was a street pharmacist, to put it as
Oh,
small as
yeah,
possible.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a street pharmacist for years, and I hung out with gangs. I hung out with other street pharmacists. I hung out with low lifes, strippers. I hung out with the dredges of society, and
Mm.
because of that, my mindset it mirrored that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna be what's the there's that typical saying if you're the product of the five closest people to you or whatever. And there's some truth in that, not all truth in that, but there's it is interesting like when you have these sort of experiences, when you have these sort of awakenings or like near death experience, or you have some sort of kind of like snapping out of your patterns, your typical way of living, it does give you kind of this, oh, I'm in order to even connect with these people, like, yeah, I love them and I appreciate them and I've been through a lot with them in these like this complicated way. But in order to like go where I know damn well I need to be going, because my brain has been telling it to me in the background like every day, all day, if I really listen to that voice, I don't know if they could come with me. I don't know if I could keep hanging out with them every day. I don't know that I get to have the same relationship with them in order to be who I know I need to be now. And that is, that's a very alienating, lonely place to take a step on. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, it can be, but it depends on your perspective. For me personally, my perspective on that situation was if we are all God, right? Like you're God, I'm God, this microphone I'm talking into is a piece of God, then that means that everything that comes into your awareness is just a perspective that God has gifted you. So if you are alienating someone who is a negative asset in your life, that's just a piece of God that He gave you for that perspective, like for a lesson. So you're not alienating any one person, you're just alienating an energetic frequency that God gave you for perspective.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, well, what's the step after that when we notice that it's time to move away from these different crowds, these different times? I mean, you could share what happened with you, but I'm always asking like the person who's listening right now. I'm always thinking about them if they're like, "Yo, damn, dude, I think maybe it is time to like change. I think it is time to like I have been a victim in some way, or I have et cetera. I got to move on." What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you are currently going through that transformation phase where you're on the precipice of, exiling the old you to bring in the new you, there's going to be a lot of changes that are happening when it comes to your energies, your emotions, and especially the crowd that you surround yourself with.
Mm.
And for me, I had to I had to just cut ties. It wasn't like a text message where I was like, "Hey, bro, like I love you, but it's no more. Like we can't hang out." It was just that's it. No longer texted, no longer called, no long like I spent a decade locked up. So it was a lot easier for me to ostracize the people that were no longer serving the highest version that I saw myself being.
Mm.
It was a lot simpler because when I got out of prison, those people that weren't around, they stayed gone. And if they tried to hit me up, like where were you then?
Mm.
Where were you when I needed you the most? So I'm not going to slip backwards into these old energies, old frequencies, or old patterns just because someone says, "What's up, bro?" You know?
Right, right. Yeah, you don't need to keep that connection constantly open if it's just no longer serving you. And then,
Yeah,
it,
just
it
cut
doesn't
it.
even have to be like "fuck you, bro." It's just like, "Hey, man, I'm just moving in a different place."
Yeah.
I hope you move to your best place, you know.
Yeah. And since then, I've actually had, and it's crazy how this works. I've had two or three friends who I was really, really close with, back in the day. And we've like shed blood together, shed tears together, and we've made money together, and we've gotten locked up together. And when I got out, I cut ties. But here recently, I've had a couple of them that have hit me up and they're like, hey, I'm doing really good. I got this going on in my life and blase, blase. And you know what? Like, I'd love to reconnect with you. I would love to see your story, hear your transition, because to completely discredit someone just because of their past would be discrediting myself.
Mm, mm,
So you got to give someone the opportunity to redeem themselves if they are truly trying to do better and be better and succumb to the desires that propel them in the right direction. You can't give up on those people because
mm,
then they're going to think subconsciously like maybe I'm not worthy. Because
mm,
think about like when you were going through your transformation phases or quitting drinking or stop eating fast food, if you would have had somebody come into your awareness and they're just like, oh yeah, fuck that, like I don't believe in your journey, it would have made you feel a certain type of way.
mhm.
Oh, hold on, I think my camera just turned off.
Yeah, I was wondering. As soon as it did that, I thought that it might. I think I can still hear you though. I'm not sure what we were talking about, but hey, how about this? Let's pick up where. Um, all right, Trey. So your Instagram handle is from prison to purpose. What is your purpose?
My purpose now in life is to offer the same perspectives that I went through so that people don't have to go through the same struggles that I did. Because I don't want people to have to reach the same levels of rock bottom to have the perspective that I achieved.
Mm.
I don't believe that everyone has to die to find their true self.
What is it in you that and I ask this as, knowing that there's something within me that does the same thing. What is it that's within us, I guess, that can't help like we can't help but share and want to help people, like it's not just I don't want to heal and just selfishly keep it to myself and just be on an island. Like I have this hunger for giving what I've learned and in that same boat, not wanting to see other people fail where I failed and like hopefully, share my perspective, that sort of thing. What is that within you?
Um, to put it simply, it's God, man. It's God.
Mm,
Like if we are all God, we're all just trying to pick different versions of ourselves up because we're all a little piece of the puzzle. And without each piece being brought up together, we all fall.
mm, mm. Okay, how long have you had a perspective on God? Has this been a lifetime, or is this like did this happen after kind of your overdose experience?
I mean, a little bit of both. I don't see God like a Christian God. It's not like the
Word.
Bible God. I see God as like an energy, a frequency, an awareness, consciousness. Like God is everything and all that is and all that ever was, time immemorial and so on and so forth. And that perspective kind of came through just years and years of meditation and introspection and realizing that like it's all connected, like everything, like the energy that flows through me flows through you, that flows through each blade of grass. And not only that, but like our awareness and our consciousness has a direct effect on every single thing within our awareness you
Mm,
know have you seen the here's a little caveat. So
mm,
have you heard of the double slit experiment?
mm-hmm.
I mean, the point
Explain it
proven.
explain it for those who haven't heard.
Yeah, so the double slit experiment is simply put, you have a particle, right? You have what is it, an electron particle being shot through two slits on, and my camera's off again.
Is it electro, bro? You observed the particle.
I know, right?
Okay, brother. So we were talking about your purpose just a second ago. So how has, trying to live through your purpose, or, maybe not even trying, but actively living through your purpose as just kind of who you are, it's like, seems like your identity comes from that rather than you trying to like have this identity. How has that changed your life? How has that shaped kind of your day to day, the way you were versus the way you are now?
Well, I'm going to answer that with a story.
Mm,
So, about 2 years ago, I was roofing, right? And I didn't like it. Obviously, it felt like it was at a stark contrast for who I felt like I should be. But it was an income. I wasn't relying on anything other than my manual labor to bring in income in for my family, to provide for my family. And one day I cut my thumb, and it was pretty bad. It wasn't like life threatening or anything like that, but it was bad enough to the point where I had to take time off work. I wasn't gonna be able to work from it. I cut it to the bone. And it like literally instantaneously, as soon as it happened though, it was like, I'm done. Like that, not just with roofing, but with manual labor altogether. Like this does not serve my soul. And it was from that moment on that I pursued social media. Like if it wasn't for me hurting my thumb, and then subsequently, I tore a bunch of ligaments in my shoulder because I was riding a one wheel, and those two things together made me realize that like my body is temporary, but my mind can last a lifetime if I put
mm,
it out there. And so I started putting myself out there through social media. And I started just kind of being myself, kind of goofy and zany. I didn't really have a direction or a purpose or anything like that. I was just, getting online and posting. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that like I needed direction. Like I needed like real purpose. And because of that, I found I found victim mentality. And well, it found me, you
mm,
know. And I took my own story, my own healing, my own traumas that I went through, and I turned them into purpose. Like my name implies, prison to purpose. And prison isn't just like a physical place. It's a mindset. And if you have a mindset of a prisoner, you're going to always be a prisoner, whether it be in a physical prison or you inside your own home. And overcoming that has been a journey, and I'm grateful to be on it. And I'm every day I wake up just blessed that I have an opportunity to speak. And I have so many people that reach out to me and that are thankful for offering, these perspectives. And I just hope and pray that, I can help people before they have to reach the level of rock bottom that I did.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. I love that you listened to that intuitive voice that was like, yo, I can work with my hands. I can do this, but I actually have this thing that's burning brighter within me. And I need to use my words. I need to use my intellect. I need to do something different because I have something worth giving that other people are needing to receive. So hell yeah for following that voice, man. And I'm glad you did. So I want to talk more about victim mentality. I don't want to get totally caught up in just talking about men masculine victim mentality, but I do want to zoom in on just that for a second. Can you give me
Mhm.
like, because I'm always, like I said, I'm always thinking about the listener. They're on right on the edge. Maybe they're kind of discovering through this conversation that they've been a little bit more on the victim side of, or totally on the victim side, or maybe they're a young man who realizes that the way that they learned how to perceive themselves and like interact with the world, maybe from their parents or their environment or whatever, is kind of the victim stuff. And they now need to start learning about it. They need to move forward. So thinking about men specifically, I guess where would we start?
Well, it definitely starts in the mind. You got to realize that you have victim mentality in the first place. Because if you don't even know that you will have victim mentality, you're never going to be able to heal from it. Your pain explains behavior, but it does not excuse it. Healing isn't being like understood. Healing is becoming someone that your past can no longer control.
Mm, mm,
So I guess in short, it starts with it starts with realizing that you have fallacies, you have room to grow. You know, nobody's perfect. And in fact, nobody's perfect. Like emphasis on nobody. We
mm,
all have room to grow. We all have room to learn and things that we can pick up from others, and that's exactly why we're here. Kind of like a segue into our past conversation. Like we reach down and pull people up because we're all a piece of God.
mm, mm. Yeah, we're all just. I say this like every podcast episode because I'm corny, but Ram Dass says we're all just walking each other home. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what
and
it
like
is.
you said, Ram Dass says, feed everyone.
Mhm.
And, like who says he's even talking about food?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like if you have something that is nutrient dense for another human being, then like I'm thinking of Terrence McKenna has that thing, nature loves courage. It's like even when it comes to feeding one another, even when it comes to serving one another, or whatever that version of it is for you, it's like nature. Like you're not doing it for the reward, of course not, but it does it's juicy and it's ripe, you know. Nature almost
Hmm.
rewards you because it gives you perspective and it makes you go like, man, I'm glad that I was, in that position to give that person that bit of knowledge. I'm glad that like I was able to genuinely help them when they needed some help. Like that's, no, I'm not doing this for me, but hey, that does feel pretty good. That's a good thing. It actually makes me want to do it again. It makes me want to serve more
Yeah.
people, in fact.
And I mean, to get into that, to add to that, it is actually a little bit selfish, because you get a little bit of a dopamine boost when you reach down and you help somebody. It makes you feel good. So when you continuously do that and you're continuously reaching down to help people and pick people up, like it is a little bit selfish because you get just as much from it as they do.
Hmm. So do you think that's a bad thing? Do you think that it is? I mean, so Ram Dass also talks about how he would always be wary of not turning himself into the helper. Like if I'm the
Mhm.
helper, I have to turn you into the person who needs help. And then I'm kind of looking down on you as the person who has the answers you need?
Yeah, it can be. It definitely can be. If you identify as a person who is always helping people, and it's a self-serve, like your purpose is self-serving, you're helping people so that you can feel good, then all of a sudden that help is demonized.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's kind of like coming across needy almost. Like I need you to reaffirm who I am, And it's like,
Hmm.
man, that's, you get that experience sometimes just naturally, but you aren't owed the reaffirmation of who you think you are with every interaction. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 100%. I have this little quote here.
like, yeah.
I don't know who wrote this, but it's healing culture taught people how to feel. It forgot to teach them how to become.
Mm, Okay, what does that mean to you? What's the difference between healing and becoming?
So healing culture taught people how to feel. So essentially, it taught people how to feel better, right? But it didn't teach them how to be better. So being better is a mindset, but feeling better is just that. It's just a feeling. So healing culture is just temporary. Like when you watch motivational videos, you get all motivated and you get pumped up and you get like energetic maybe for a workout or something like that. But it's not your baseline. It's not your default. It's not making you become motivated. That comes from consistent action. That comes from an identity. So in order to heal like victim mentality or to heal like whatever you've gone through, you need to change the identity that is your baseline.
Hmm. Okay, let's dig deeper into identity because I agree. I think that's one of the most important things. What can you tell me? What can you tell me that you discovered about identity through your process here?
I would say that identity is it's your subconscious beliefs on who you are, right? So if you are consistently hanging around people that affirm an old identity of you. Like, say you hang around a bunch of people back in your party days, and they're like, "Oh, bro, you are such a party animal, man. You can drink so much, and you can do this and this and that." Like, they're affirming an identity that maybe you don't hold true to yourself anymore.
Mm,
So you got to surround yourself with people that believe in the identity that you believe in.
mm.
You know,
Yeah, dude, I think it's fresh in my mind because like I just visited my hometown, and that's always a I mean, I hate talking about like my hometown, like it's like think I'm better than it or something. But there is just a lot of those conversations that happen, or like, bro, oh, you remember when they like have an inside joke from 16 years ago, which is beautiful in a lot of aspects. But when it's some sort of like, oh, dude, you were keg standing on the party and the like just some crazy story that you had, is like, man, I don't remember that. Like, it doesn't really feel like me. Like, if you bring
yeah,
that up and you think that that correlates to who I am now, it kind of makes me feel like you don't really see who I am now, which makes me feel a little
yeah.
small. And so it is kind of a journey of interacting with uh, people who you want to love and interact with, but they're only holding on to older versions of you, right?
Bro, yes, yes, 100%. I vibe with everything you just said right there. I went and
Yeah.
seen like my family, and I do not see my family very often, like for that reason
Hmm.
specifically, because they are consistently trying to affirm an old identity that no longer serves me. Especially my dad. My dad is so just stubborn. Like it's like talking to a brick wall. Every
Hmm.
time I'm telling him like, "Oh, like this is what I have going on in my life." He's like, "Yeah, but is it fucking paying the bills? Is it doing this or that?" Like it's my passion. That doesn't mean anything to him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to explain an identity to a rock.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like a lot of it is, it must be, as a parent, it must be like weird if you feel a type of way and you're not super aware of like what it feels like when your son is maybe doing something that you wish you did, or maybe you probably heard of like when a kid starts making more money at a certain point in their life than their parents ever did. you know there's of course going to be a lot of like natural pride, but then there's also this kind of strange like, oh, like you did better than me, or it kind of like forces this sort of, I think it kind of does trigger something when someone is like, um, I think it's the same thing that's triggered when I'm just trying to eat healthy next to someone and they are offended, or they like insult themselves off of whatever they're eating just because I'm eating healthy next to them. I'm like, buddy, I'm not trying to, you don't have to compare what you have going on to what I have going on. I'm not trying to trigger you to like do anything differently, but like, can I have this thing over here? You
Yeah.
can have your thing, but can I have my thing over here? And when it comes to a parent relationship, it's like, can't you be at least a little happy that I have this thing over here that I'm clearly excited about? you know?
Yeah. The way that I look at it, so that I don't find myself feeling some type of way when people like pass judgment, is the expression, I don't know who it's from, but you will never be judged by somebody doing less than you, or by somebody doing more than you. You will never be judged by somebody doing more than you.
Yeah.
So judgment always comes from somebody from a lower position in life that are casting judgment because they feel a certain way towards you.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think of that. You ever hear that thing about, basically like Kobe Bryant is never going to be typing a comment on someone's social media post. He's never going to be like judging someone or like
Yeah.
talking shit on a post, or like he's never going to be on Reddit just like insulting someone because he's
Yeah.
like, why would he ever think like that? Why would he ever waste his time?
Yeah, if somebody's like, "Oh, Jordan's the best player that ever lived," you're not gonna see Kobe in the comments be like, "No, I am."
Yeah, no, he's going to go prove it by being out on the court.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we get caught up in our identities. You know what I mean? So I want to talk more about identity. What I mean, clearly you spent time in prison. I mean, I'm sure you probably were around a lot of people who were caught in an identity of victimhood, not some version of this thing happened to me. I grew up in this experience. That's why I am this way. And therefore I cannot change because genetics. or there's, they don't even think that there's a way out. So, what did you see a lot? And I guess what would be, I don't know, like what would you have to offer them now? Now that you're on a different perspective yourself, like maybe I give you a microphone tray, and you're kind of like talking to a room full of people that you used to be in rooms with, 9 8 9 years ago. What could you offer 'em?
Well, probably about the same amount that I was able to offer them then. Not much, because people in there are not open to the ideas that we're discussing. It takes a certain type of person that is ready for advancement in life and ready to change the identity that they possess. I was in a maximum security prison in Tennessee. I was surrounded by murderers and drug dealers, rapists, and literally the worst of society over there. And I was right outside of Memphis, which is like the murder capital of the world right now. And it was the Wild West. Like, it's not a point of pride or anything. Like, I literally had to sleep with a handmade knife in my cell every night for fear of my own life,
Mm,
and when I was in there and I did talk to people on any sort of philosophical level, it either went right over their head or they were offended. They were offended because they
mm,
felt like I was trying to make them feel dumb.
mm,
And like, I don't talk like I'm some super genius. I don't talk like I'm some doctor or whatever. I don't have a college degree. And it's just the people in there and their mentality is so stuck in their ways. It's gang mentality, it's prison mentality, it's victim mentality at its finest. And you can't convince somebody to change their life. You can never convince somebody to change their life. Like, just like you can never convince an addict to stop doing drugs. It has to come from within. You have to reach your own level of rock bottom before you want to change. So the people in there that are not ready to change are not going to. The people that are open and susceptible to new information and new ideas, they love to listen to me talk. Like, because even when I was in there, I would still, when I reached my rock bottom and I did recover my first day back in the pod, like, I instantly went to meditation. I instantly went
mm,
to yoga. I instantly went to working out. Everything that was no longer serving me stopped from that moment on. There was no more of it. Like, I never touched a drug from that day on.
mm,
And like, I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do nicotine. I literally do nothing. And even recently, I quit smoking weed because
mm,
I felt that even that was at a stark contrast for who I saw myself as. I preach overcoming victim mentality and sobriety and all this. Like, I can't be out there smoking weed. Like, I don't judge people to do. I don't judge people to drink. But if someone is open to ideas and they're open to have an open forum and a discussion on how to better themselves, like, I'm all for it. Like, I would love to help people see a new perspective on life. And that new perspective can be offered through my stories and my experiences because I've lived it. Like, I've lived life as a drug dealer. I've lived life as, I've been on high speed chases, on crotch rockets. I've done like all the crazy stuff that you can imagine. I've probably done it. Like, I was involved in a murder in Washington. Like, I didn't kill anybody, but I was involved in a murder in Washington State where I helped move a body and helped someone potentially almost escape murder charges. Like,
jeez.
and that was all due to the psychology of the mind. When I was at a lower level of intellect and a lower psychological point and a lower energetic state, like, I was surrounding myself with these things, and what you surround yourself with multiplies.
Mm,
So I'm like I said, I'm just grateful every day for my
yeah.
mindset. Grateful that I hit my rock bottom. I'm grateful that I'm still here.
Yeah, bro. Well, I'm grateful that, from your rock bottom, it really snapped you into the light within you, kind of took control of the steering wheel, right? What I was curious about is, so in prison, I imagine there's books and stuff, right?
Mhm.
What were you drawn to? Who were you reading? What were you listening? Can you listen to YouTube at all or anything like that? Were you listening to podcasts, anything like that?
You can. I had a cell phone when I was in prison. You're not
Okay.
supposed to, obviously, but
Yeah.
I had a cell phone my whole time in there. It was a touch screen, so I was FaceTiming people every once in a while on the street, and I would use it to mainly download like movies and music and things like that. And my main staple was I would download meditation music, and I would spend a lot of time in my cell, and I would just meditate, and that was my peace, you know. And I went through a phase where I don't know if you're gonna put this on the podcast, but I went through a phase where I was having someone ship me in acid on birthday cards, and I would drop acid and I would go meditate for like 6, 8 hours, and I would
Nice.
literally reprogram myself because I would
Dude.
find the pieces of my internal self that were no longer serving me,
Hell yeah.
and I would just delete them. Like it was a computer program, like get that out of here, get that out of here. I need to bring this in, I need to adjust this, you know, and I would work my mind over.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So were you what what drew you to do these things? Were these just like instinctual kind of? Like have you always been into like meditation and yoga and that sort of stuff or psychedelics?
Yes and no. I was always very spiritual growing up.
Mm,
Ever since I was little, I had an uncanny ability to see things, like future events, things that haven't happened. I could see things that others couldn't. I could feel energies, and I knew what was right and I knew what was wrong when it came to my canon moment, the moment that I died. You know, I knew from that moment on what was right and what was wrong. And it's like that younger version of myself resurfaced and was like, "Hey bro, like you have the ability of discernment. Use it." You know? So from that moment on, I knew what was serving me. So I started having I had one friend who he was on the run from America because he was facing, like, international drug trafficking charges,
mm.
and he was actually sending me books while I was in prison. And so he would send me books on, like, meditation. He would send me books on yoga, hatha yoga, and, integral theory, like collegiate level books, you
Yeah,
know, and
dude.
I would just
Setting you
study.
Ken Wilber in prison is so tight.
Yeah. So I was literally on a different level when it came to talking with people in there that, like I said, people wanted to fight me because of the way that I spoke.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I just, like I said, I just started going down rabbit holes, man, and one thing led to another, and now I can't stop. Right now I'm reading Talk Like Ted. It's a
Mm.
book that teaches you just how to speak better, like when it comes to public forums. And like, because that's my goal. My goal is to get on stages. My goal is to reach out and affect and help as many people as possible. And maybe my story and insight will prevent someone from going down the same road.
Yeah, yeah. From prison to purpose, indeed, my friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Man, that's really what it takes. I think the awakening into the true self and kind of the breaking of we kind of see through the illusion of the story. So Sam Harris, who's a neuroscientist and meditation teacher and all these other things, modern philosopher, he has in his meditation teachings, he talks about this moment when say you're like on the street and you're walking past, a restaurant or something, and it's all glass, like big open glass, and you're looking in and you're like, you can see everybody eating in the kitchen and you can see the whole thing, and you're kind of just watching, and then suddenly you can kind of become aware of your own reflection. You know, you
Hmm.
can kind of like, oh, like it was right there the whole time. I was just looking right through my own reflection the entire, like I was. Oh, but now like both are there, but I can still kind of like see my reflect. You know what I mean? Like everybody
Yeah,
has that
yeah.
experience, right? Um, and he kind of talks about that, like that's like kind of the moment that we very quickly kind of overlook in meditation, where we're kind of like really trying to rest in the center of the self, of the like the non-trying, like, dude, you're fine, just like it's right there. Don't try to jump past it. Like the reflection is there, just kind of rest in it, sort of thing. Um, and I think that the awakening le- that moment where you can kind of like snap out of it there is definitely a before and an after. For me, it's like there before my experience like that, where I really like truly kind of like snapped out of it, my version of my like kind of NDE or my, Kundalini awakening, my spiritual awakening, whatever it was, like really kind of the big moment. Um, there's like a before Jacob and an after Jacob. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think I'm kind of curious to ask you more about like just awakening in general. Like what do you think it is? Like that this thing that we've gone through, the thing that more men and women seem to be going through. Like we talk about it on all these podcasts. There's like this whole new age movement on the internet. Like and even outside of the whole new age thing, there's tons of people having kundalini and spiritual
Yeah.
awakenings. What's up with it, man? Like,
I
what
got
do you
chills right
think?
now. I
Isn't
got
it
chills right now.
isn't it
Yeah.
so sick, dude? It's pretty cool,
Yeah.
dude. Me and Jordan L talk about it all the time. But yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't know, what do you think about it, bro? Like, what's going on? Do you think?
I think that right now the world is waking up, and to put it broadly and more specifically, it's the the harmonic resonance of Earth. The Schumann resonance
Mm,
is reaching a point right now where it's forcing people to wake up. Because if you're an antenna, which we're antennas, right? And we're an antenna for frequencies, outside frequencies, and that's why we're so affected by other people. Like and people, places, and things affect us. Like when you go to a new place, you can feel the energy of it. Well, the earth as a whole has a resonance, and it's called the Schumann resonance. And normally it's like 7 hertz or whatever it is. Well, the Schumann resonance lately has been through the roof. There's been crazy energetic spikes, and these energetic spikes force us to resonate at a different frequency. So, if we are energetic beings, beings of light, whatever you want to call us, and antennas, we pick up on these outside energies and frequencies. Now, what do you think is going to happen if all of a sudden the resonant frequency of Earth is just through the roof? Like we have no choice but to resonate with it. So it's causing people to wake up at an alarming rate.
mm, yeah, dude, it literally makes me think of like that's of course how that's how like a new sense would be born, right? Like the
Yeah,
like kind of the third eye, so to say, opening is kind of this ability to have the meta perspective on the world, like the truth of what's going on. You have this view from above while you're living within. You're like, oh fuck, okay, life is a maze, but I could see it. I know it's a maze, so I can't be fooled. It is like this. Um, I, I mean, maybe it would make sense that the human species would be gaining a new sense, like going in a direction of expanding what they are. We walked out of however the hell it happened. We walked out of water. We were fishies or whatever. We were tadpoles or whatever, and then we became, land dwelling creatures and monkeys, and here we are having a podcast. Like we're
yeah.
going in some direction. It seems like the togetherness is only true, and we are being sucked in.
I think that Christians have one thing right, and that is the second coming of Christ. But I think it's misinterpreted as like Jesus Christ, the person, returning. But I believe the second coming of Christ is Christ consciousness. I don't believe like Jesus himself is going to like come down out of the sky or virgin birth again or whatever the Bible says. I believe the second coming of Christ is just that. It's Christ consciousness, that some people call it 5D, some people call it like a Kundalini awakening, whatever you want to call it. But it is what it is, and everyone is experiencing it. It's this worldwide phenomenon where everyone is waking up. Like, look at geopolitically right now across the entire world. Countries are waking up to their evil, corrupt governments. People are waking up to the corruption and, victim mentality within themselves. And like the whole world is getting a software update right now.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean, we're operating on the same hardware, and our software has been being used against us for, various amounts of time and various reasons for, billionaires and oligarchies and all these all these people who can control us by using our biology, aka like making us feared, so they can kind of control what we think.
Hmm.
But our like you said, our not only our UI but our software is upgrading. Like
Yeah.
we are learning more. We are becoming smarter. We are like experience. I think Alan Wat or not Alan Watson, but Terrence McKenna again. He talks about uh, in such a trippy way, but how time is speeding up in this weird way, and it's like
Hmm.
it almost makes sense. Like our individual perceptions as we grow and we, like I said, go towards a certain direction, the amount of stuff that can happen in a single millisecond is more and more. Like when I used to look at 360p on a TV, I'm taking in that many pixels, but now with a simple glance, I take in 4K. You know, we have
Yeah.
all these different things, all these technologies that have added up to where in one moment we are devouring more. You know, so time is not only speeding up, but it's going in a direction. You know, and it's very interesting that we are a species that seems to be like waking up and becoming aware of its direction. Like it's very profound that you and I started we had some sort of edge experience and we're like, whoa, the self is an important thing to talk about and teach people about. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just isn't that wild? Isn't it just crazy?
Yeah. It's nuts to think that, one second you're dead and the next you're helping people not die.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's good, man. We're all just walking each other home after all.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
walking each other home,
Yeah,
man.
we're just like taking like yeah, just all right into the spirit realm. Like yeah, I'll meet you up there, bro. But I'm like
Yeah.
I'm at work, you know. Man. Okay. Okay. So did have a couple questions. Um, okay. So you had a quote that I thought was dope. I think this happened right after your overdose experience. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you said the version of you that learned to stay hard so you didn't break.
Hmm.
Um, so it seemed like you discovered that you had made this armor and you needed that for a certain time, but then you became aware that that armor didn't work. Is that correct? Is that kind of what happened with you?
Yeah, exactly, man. Like you put on this persona so that you don't get taken advantage of, but in all reality, like it's not even needed. Like a lot of these identities that you wear are identities that were given to you in the first place. They're not self-inflicted identities. It's like, your dad said you're good at football, so you played football. Like, I, I never wanted to play football. I did that for him because he said fucking he liked me playing football. And, it's a trickle down thing. Each one of these identities and labels are from outside sources or from friends and family or whatever the situation may be. So, yeah, staying hard is the quickest way to never change.
Hmm. Can you give me an example, like in your personal life, maybe not even like in the prison experience, maybe before that, where you were living through your armor, um, where you were very knowingly, like a good example where someone go, oh, like maybe I'm kind of living. That kind of sounds like something I would do, like where you walk into a room and you're acting a certain way, or you project a certain image to protect yourself. Does anything come to mind, bro?
Yeah, my entire life. My my entire life, I held on to this persona of, I was always like when I was growing up, I always was the protector. When it came to my little sisters, when it came to my friends, like I would always, beat up people that were in the wrong because, I was that was who I was. But in all actuality, like maybe those people didn't need beaten up, maybe they needed help, you know? So I was living through that armor, living through that persona instead of seeing the situation for what it was. And like hurt people, man. And the reason people lash out and they get aggressive or they get violent is just because they have internal healing that needs to be done.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what does the future of this whole healing journey look like for you know all of us, I guess? Like, we have hospitals, we have these buildings, these structures in our societies that when you're hurt, you go to these hospitals, and they need a lot of work. But it's they have their greatness and they have their good aspects, and it's at least trying to solve a problem, right? Hey, there's someone bleeding, let's
Hmm.
get them like some clean, sanitary whatever. So in that same direction, we have psychiatry, we got better help, we got all these mental health, but
I don't
I'm
believe in psychiatry.
You don't believe in psychiatry. Okay. Well,
No,
what do we need in its place then? Like, how do we heal in the future?
I believe most healing can be done energetically. Like,
Tell me
think
more.
about, so our belief creates our reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like, kind of a little flashback here to the double slit experiment. The If our belief creates our reality, so if something is outside of your awareness, it is a wave. It no longer exists on the physical plane, right? So in order for it to be physical, you have to bring awareness to it. And the same thing goes with healing. It's been studied and proven that a positive mindset and belief in a healing journey will heal someone much faster than conventional medicine. Have you ever looked into like breath work, like Wim Hof?
Yeah, yeah. I did breath work this morning.
Perfect. So, Wim Hof, he sat down and was injected with Ebola or polio or some,
Dude, yeah, this is so
yeah.
crazy. Please go on. Please go
Yeah,
on.
so he was injected with some deadly pathogen, him and his team, and under medical observation, using nothing but breathwork mindset and meditation, he completely combated this deadly pathogen. Wasn't it like 24 hours? Like it was some like ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah, 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 dude.
Yeah.
They literally just have him hooked up to neural caps and videos, and he's just being recorded the whole time, and he's actively fighting off this virus. So it just changes what we know.
Yeah, belief, bro.
Yeah.
Belief. That's all it is. Energy and frequency and matter and everything is controlled with our belief. Like if we are all God, then we all have the powers of God as well. We just have to tap into them. And
Mm.
these powers that we possess are slowly, well, I won't even say slowly. It's kind of a tidal wave at this moment. Like everyone's waking up like on a
Good
massive
morning,
scale.
everyone.
Yeah, like grand rising. Here you go. Here's some telepathy. You know?
Yeah, and I'm giving you telepathy through my mind.
Yeah, exactly. We're all waking up to the fact that we all are gods. We are in the Bible, it even says, ye are gods. It doesn't say ye are like gods.
Mm,
It says ye are gods
mm,
because we're all a fractal of the one true God, the all, the is, the universe, the collective consciousness, whatever you want to call it.
mm. You know, something, dude, that I find it's again, it's kind of me going back to that example that I was talking about with Sam Harris, where he talks about where he's looking through the restaurant and suddenly he can see his reflection. You know, it's like the inside of the restaurant and the reflection, it's all right there at the same time. Sometimes I think that unless you've had that experience, like a genuine, at least that glimpse of like kind of the true nature of just like consciousness in a way. I know that's like such a loaded sentence, but just to, not ramble about it too much. Unless we've had that, when you and I are talking about like victim mindset and like getting lost in your stories and we are all gods, like that sort of stuff, because like I use a lot of the same language as you. Do you think that people really are hearing what they should be hearing, or can they hear us if they haven't had that like awakening? What is do you think? What do you think?
So Ken Wilber actually talks about this.
Okay.
There's levels of consciousness,
Uh-huh.
and it's easy for someone like me and you to talk to somebody at a lower level of consciousness. And I'm not saying intellect, I'm saying consciousness.
Hmm.
And it's easy for us to talk to someone at a lower level of consciousness and understand their perspective, but they will never understand ours until they live through it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like an elevator.
Hmm.
And like until you get up to that next floor, you can't understand the perspective, like the 2D
Exactly.
to 3D perspective of that whole floor.
Exactly. But to add to that, think about if you're like driving over to my house right now and I give you the address, but you don't use Google Maps or Navigate or anything like that. It's gonna take you a while to get here. Like you know where I live, but it's gonna take you a while to get here. But if I give you a map, the same thing with consciousness. If I give you a map of consciousness now, you're gonna understand like how to get there because you understand like at least on a basic level what consciousness is, what that next level is, where I'm going. But if you don't know where you're going, how long is it going to take you to get there?
Right. a ship with no destination favors no winds, or a sailboat
Yeah,
with no destination favors no winds. Like, do I need to go to the
yeah,
east or the west? You know?
yeah, exactly. I don't even know what port I'm fucking going towards.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there is like yeah, there is a direction. Yeah, that's so interesting. So how do we? So how do dudes like you and us who are like trying to help people, who are trying to share our perspectives and just like express who we are and what we've learned on the path, knowing that when people are ready, they'll come up for some air, you know? Um, how do we communicate in a way that doesn't feel like sometimes what happens with like podcasting and stuff, dude, and you probably noticed it too, uh, it becomes like a yay this and boo that, like, so how do we make sure that we're not going like yay if you identify with being all that is in God consciousness, but if you think you're just a small identity, like yo you suck, dude, like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we not tribalize ourselves when we're trying to help people, because I get tripped up, and like sometimes I'll hear myself back and go, why, I kind of worded that in a way that like I could totally hear that they would take that as me sounding like I'm cooler or better. I know something they don't, or something, So how do we navigate those waters, man?
I think it starts with empathy. If you
Mm,
are empathetic in everything that you do and understand that the reason we're doing this is to, we're throwing people that life raft that they need. You know, when you come from a place of purpose and empathy, it doesn't come across that way. And if someone perceives it that way, they're not ready. They're not ready to hear the message, you know?
yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Okay. How about this? Oh, you had a video. I'm just glancing at my notes here for anybody who's just listening and waiting on the pause. You had a video, and explore where this goes. I'm not expecting you to remember exactly what you said in the video, but you did have some excellent, excellent points. What are three things that prison taught you?
Three things that prison taught me. Well, empathy without standards creates weak adults is one of the my main ones. And kind of to elaborate on that is like when you are empathetic, people in victim mindset will easily attach themselves to someone with a higher empathy level and use that as a leverage point.
Mm,
Like if you're empathetic towards me and I can't afford rent or something like that, you're like, "Oh, I got you, bro. Here's some money." Ding, 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 now all of a sudden the victim becomes a capitalist, you know?
mm, mm,
And another thing that prison taught me is how to read people. Like one of the biggest
mm,
things is reading people and realizing that a smile is not a smile. Just because somebody is smiling does not mean they're your friend.
mm,
And I'd say the third thing that prison taught me is you got to take care of yourself first. You can't help someone who's drowning if you're drowning yourself.
mm, mm. All right, let's dig a little bit deeper on that. I think that is a super important one because people get caught up in being the hero and saving the world before they, quote unquote, make their own bed.
Yeah,
The example of on an airplane, if you're in an emergency, the mask comes down. You got to
yeah.
put your own oxygen mask on first so you don't die before you start helping the person next to you, or your daughter, or your kid, or whatever. So
hmm
I don't know. Tell me more about that.
So you can't pour from an empty cup.
Hmm.
you know? So you have to fill your cup first. And whether that be through meditation, breath work, identity work, like you have to transform yourself into a person that has the ability to help in the first place. If you are telling people, hey, don't eat fast food, that shit's poison, but yet here you are snacking on a Snickers, like who are you to be the end all be all and the justified party? So you have to put yourself in a position where you can help in the first place.
Mm,
Be the person that you want other people to be so that when you reach down and you pull people up, they see like, oh, it is nicer up here. You were right. And it's not like you're telling people like, oh, meditation is so great. Like I feel so great from meditation, but really low key, you don't even meditate. You're just over there scrolling or something. You wake up every rise and you're just on your phone scrolling or waking up and eating junk food or whatever the case may be. you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's definitely life is really a proof is in the pudding type thing. Like you
Mm,
don't get other people inspired to meditate by walking around saying I'm a meditator and like clocking your hours and sharing your stats on social media. It's like people just
yeah.
you meditate for your reasons for because it's the way that you serve. It's the way that you connect to what's larger than you within you and your personal practice, and then who you are proves itself in real moments. Not to say that just because you meditate, you won't, get angry or have an outburst or, have a little road rage or whatever it is that
Hmm.
you deal with. But if there is someone who knows you before you started meditating or, and they know you after you started meditating, they may genuinely notice like, hey man, you are way more chill or you are way more understanding or you are way more this or that. The proof proves itself and you didn't even have to tell them. They might even be like, yo, what are you doing? And then you could say, oh, well, I've been meditating. It's pretty sick. But you don't walk around
Yeah.
saying, well, I meditate. I'm sick. Watch how sick and calm I am. Watch how, you know what I mean? Like it
Watch
just, it,
this.
yeah, well, yeah, you don't
Like,
go
whoa.
to the mall to meditate so people can watch you meditate and then they know
Yeah.
you're a meditator. It's like, no,
Yeah.
bro, you do it for you, and the fruit is bared by other people just noticing that you're in a different state.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you talk to people, you have a different air about you, and people recognize that. Like if you talk to people that just something as simple as meditation or changing your diet, people notice that. Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, there's something different about you to the normal, uninitiated.
Mm,
And when you talk to these people, they're subconsciously inspired by you. They don't know what it is. They feel it. They don't know it. And it's palpable because like we were saying earlier, levels of consciousness. When someone's at a lower level of consciousness and they come across somebody that is resonating at a different frequency, they feel it. Their antenna picks it up. They don't know what it is, but it's there.
mhm. Yeah, it's like sensing, yo, I have a plugin that would fit that thing you have. Like I think I have
Yeah.
that plugin in me, Like I think I have. Like imagine if you were like you used to be. Have you seen Avatar, like the blue people Avatar?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine like you were one of those, and then throughout hundreds and hundreds of years, you like just stopped using your little tail connector thing. And so you just became like this creature
Yeah.
that's blue and doesn't have a tail connector thing. But then you saw some other avatars who like took out their tail and they connected it to like the great mother Aya or whatever it is for in Avatar World.
Whoa.
You'd be like, oh, what the fuck? But then you'd have to
Yeah.
look at your own life and like all the things you do that are anti that tail thing, and it might be triggering. And so you might,
Mhm.
oh, I have to change all of a sudden. And so you either dive deeper into the identity you are, or you
Yes.
go, hey, what's that tail thing you're doing? Tell me about that. Like, what is that? Can I do that? How do I do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like I've been told my whole life that it's taboo, but I
Yeah.
kind of want to try
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, dude, so Ram Dass says, like, when he's talking these big lectures, he talks about how, he could be talking for an hour straight and nobody's saying anything. People are in a trance. They're just nodding their heads. And then he's
Hmm.
like, how do you guys know any of this? How are you just nodding your head like, oh yeah, that is how it is. Oh yeah, and he's talking these deep spiritual concepts, and he's talking about his self dying, and all this psychological stuff, and everyone in the audience is, oh yeah, that is yes, Ram Dass, that is how it is. It is how it is, and it's like, how do you know that? How do you know that? And it's like they couldn't reverberate, they couldn't tell you exactly what he's saying. Maybe in some way they could, but it's this thing within you. It's this shape of something larger than yourself that you have like like I said, the plug-in, it'll fit just
Hmm.
fine. It'll fit like a puzzle piece. You have that shape of it in you. There's just life is trying to hand you the experiences to, plug in, to turn in, to tune in and drop out, as Timothy Leary would say.
I love Timothy Leary. I actually knew his niece,
No
or
way.
know his niece. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, what's
Yeah.
that like? What's that like relationship like? Has she told you any stories about him or anything?
Not too many stories.
Yeah.
It was before my overdose experience in prison, so it was
Mm.
a different version of me that knew
Sure, yeah.
her. And because of that, meeting her for different reasons. I was
For
dropping
sure.
things off, and she's actually a pot grower in Bend, Oregon. She's like one of the largest pot growers, actually.
Huh.
Yeah, like thousands of plants kind of thing.
Timothy
But
Leary would be proud.
yeah, yeah, he's smiling in his grave right now. But she was cool. She was, for someone that grew a lot of weed, she was very hyper. Um,
Mm.
but she was super sweet. She was, little small stature person, like super nice though. She lives in Portland, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, right
interesting.
off, yeah, right off Rosa Parks.
Oh, nice, dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, dude, you wonder if there's like some, the lineage thing is pretty interesting. Like, I don't dive too deep into my personal lineage. I don't really know a ton about it, but it is kind of interesting when, the descendants of some known figure stumble into similar areas. Like I wouldn't
yeah.
say that, being I'm sure she knows her stuff with pot if she's like one of the biggest pot growers. So that's
Yeah,
pretty cool that she comes from the background of Timothy Leary being in her family.
yeah. Here's a crazy a crazy loop
Mm.
of connection. So Timothy Leary, back in the day, was friends with Nicholas Sands. Nicholas Sands was friends with a guy named Sasha Shulgin, Alexander Shulgin. He wrote a book called PCAL. It stands for Phenethylamines I've Known and Loved, and it was pretty much a book on chemical compositions of phenethylamines like LSD and
Mm.
2,5-I and 2,5-E and all the derivatives and things like that. Well, while I was in prison the first time, I met somebody who studied how to cook underneath Alexander Sasha Shulgin, right?
Wow.
And then one thing led to another. I get out of prison and I started cooking Molly with the same person. So I was actually cooking Molly with someone who learned how to cook Molly from the godfather of acid, who is friends with Timothy Leary, who I met his niece or whatever. So I was like, and this is all in different, yeah, and this is all over the country. This isn't all in one small area. This is like in Washington, Oregon, California, Tennessee, like I was all over the place, and I just happened to meet this like hive of people that were all connected back in the day and connected now still.
Man, where do you put that in your brain? Where do you compartmentalize it? Like I know like synchronicities are an impossible thing to explain, but like the coincidences seem to add up in certain things. Like do you think like oh maybe like I knew these people in a past life somehow? Maybe like I don't know, how do you conceptualize that sort of stuff?
Man, I don't even know where to start on that. Like
Yeah.
it's so crazy sometimes. Like realistically, if we started talking long enough, I bet you we met at some point in time or our parents did, or maybe like 20 years ago, there's a picture of us at Wild Waves, where you were in the
Dude.
background of a family photo,
Yeah.
like we're all connected, bro. We are all God.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that stuff is something else. That is
Bro, yes.
I was actually just listening to Ram Dass. It was either last night or this morning, and he was talking about this dude was talking about synchronicities, and the guy was like, "No, like something's going on. Like they're really getting more and more." And Ram Dass is basically saying like your perspective is expanding. That's what's going on. Like synchronicities are literally always happening. It's just
Yeah,
sometimes at certain moments in your life you get to kind of like have that meta perspective where you notice that they're all happening. But like realistically, if you have the ability to, in the click of a finger, always zoom all the way out, you would go, "Oh, ha, 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 like it's all synchronicities. Everything is literally all
yeah,
connected. Like everything at all points has never not been connected." But yeah, so it's not necessarily like new synchronicities start happening. It is almost like your ability to be aware of them kind of
yeah.
like expands and like breathes a little bit.
Yeah, I feel that 100%, man. Like there's points in time when I get deep into meditation that I feel and see, not like with my eyes, but I see the invisible thread that connects like everything. And that's when the connections feel palpable more than synchronistic. But other than that, like it's like when I'm not meditating, when I'm not in those transcendental states, it's just like, what the fuck? It's like, how is all this happening simultaneously? Or how is this connected to this? Or how do I speak something and then it instantly happen? You know?
hmm Yeah, I mean, there's more and more research being done on a lot of that stuff. What's his name? Uh, he talks about like he did this study. man, who is it? Basically, he studied animals behavior. So like animals being able to basically sense when their adults are coming home, when their owners are coming home, and he would do different times a day. So it's not just like, oh, they know about 5 p.m. is when mom and dad comes home. They do different cars, so they don't just recognize their car from down the road. There's like all
Yeah.
these crazy studies. I'm still forgetting the guy's name, but oh, Rupert Sheldrake, I think. Rupert Spira, Rupert. I think it's Rupert Sheldrake. But yeah, so I mean, he talks about these like these abilities, these like knowings, these like things that you can kind of get in tune with. And like even our animals have these like senses, these abilities that they can get in tune with. And I think like even synchronicity is something like it's almost like a little positive cookie that like, oh, you're doing the thing, like you're
Yeah.
connected to the thing, you're on the right path, you're it's just like another expansion of an ability.
And to take it a step further, like
Mm.
there's a study that was conducted with not only like your animals, but they did it with plants. And your plants have an energetic spike when you're on your way home, when you're within like a 1 or 2 mile radius.
What?
Yeah, plants.
What? Dude, oh, and another crazy one I heard about plants is there's a book, The Light Eaters, that's pretty good that I'm slowly picking my way through. If you We studied that if you put a Bluetooth speaker, a speaker that's playing the sounds of running water underground, that a plant, I don't know if it's specific kind of plants or all, but their roots will somehow hear that
Yeah,
water, and the roots will grow towards the sound of that running water through the speaker, like in
probably
lieu in lieu
feels
of going
it.
the other way. Yeah, like, but like what, like it doesn't have sense organs as we understand them. It doesn't have
Yeah.
ears and reverberating, like mechanics of an ear that we think hearing only exists for this, you know.
Hmm.
Um, how fascinating is that? Like what we're just discovering more and more about this whole thing we're living in here.
Yeah, we're just brushing the surface, man. I mean, all the pseudoscience that's out there is just that, it's people like even the fallacy of math. Like what is math? Numbers are just fucking energetic frequencies too. Like everything is energy at its base. So we're all connected. Everything is just living under one consciousness, and we're just now starting to scratch the surface on what consciousness even is.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and what a tragedy to forget that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what a blessing to remember it.
Yeah,
Like,
and
the
that's the beauty of it. Like they say that you decide your journey before you're incarnated. And
mm,
who would want to incarnate where you already know everything? Like the
mm,
the beauty of life is discovering life itself.
mm, mm. Okay, hey, man, we're getting up here in time, but I wanna use what you just said as, like, starting our journey towards home here. You just pointed out something that I use in my life to never be a victim, and that is the way I see it. I signed up for all of this shit. I
Yeah.
made these plans. Me and God, or me as God, or something, me and my spirit family, whatever the hell happened before I slid down the slide into this human life as Jacob. I
Hmm.
mapped it all out and I said, I want to grow in this way. I want to learn this so I can teach people this. I want to experience this tragedy so at this age I can heal from it. And at this age I can help other people. And I want to experience this and expand and all these things. I planned it all out. And then I slid through onto this magic big slide and I had to forget that I planned any of that out because it just wouldn't work if I remembered any of it at all.
Yeah.
I had to forget. And here I am. And I use that, and I don't know if it's capital T true, but I live as if it's true because I don't know any other way to keep moving forward. And I don't know any other way to explain this hunger that I have and that you have,
Yeah.
this thing that keeps me going. So I figure I signed up for all of it. I imagine you live in some sort of way that's similar. Could you kind of explain your version of that so anybody listening can maybe give a different perspective on this whole like past life quote unquote thing or this like, planning out your life before you live it thing?
Yeah, definitely, man. So I kind of have the inkling that our purpose is predetermined, so that when we do come down here, we already know what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. But it would lose its luster if we already knew everything. So that we come down here and everyone gets amnesia. And throughout life, we're just battling Alzheimer's essentially, you know,
Yeah.
trying to figure out everything like what am I supposed to do now? And the ups and downs is what adds excitement, and the tumultuous sides of life make the calm parts, you know, a blessing, and vice versa. Just like that, the old Persian adage where he asked somebody to um, make him a ring that said something that when he was sad would make him smile, and then when he was happy, it would make him sad. So this ring bearer came to him with a ring that said, "This too shall pass." You know, and it's perfect. Like it doesn't matter what situation you're in, whether it be bad or good, like it'll pass.
Mhm.
You know, so you just got to take it for what it is, you know, take it on the chin if that's where it hits, and just keep going and realize that life is exactly that. It's life. And without purpose, there's no point in it.
Mm. Mm.
And we're here to give it that purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that, bro. Hey, well said, dude. Thank you for taking my rambling, like, side quest filled with plenty caveat questions,
Yeah.
and always coming up with like such a great roundabout way of explaining like your version of it, or answer my questions, man. You have some great
Yeah. I
answers today.
appreciate it, man. This has been fun.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Okay, well, so let's tie a bow on this thing. What message would you like to leave? Is there any, like, scroll through our conversation? Is there anything that maybe you wanted to hit on that you want to just take a few more minutes on? And then I would love to know. I'd love for you to share what's in the future for you. What are you offering? Where can people find you? I'll obviously include all the bio and like your links and all that sort of stuff below. But what can we expect? And scan your brain if there's anything else you want to leave left unsaid.
Well, that is a loaded question because there's a lot that we could be here for hours. But to wrap it up, man, I'd just like to say, first off, thank you for having me on. You know, I really appreciate the opportunity. And this is just a stepping stone, you know, and I've been manifesting this for, you know, a couple of months now. I've been saying like I need to get a public forum. I want to get on stages. I want to offer people perspectives. I want to, you know, share my story and like all these things. And it's just crazy to think that because I put that out there energetically, vocally, and spiritually, like it's happening. So my message would be to the people listening, man. Like if you have a dream, if you have a vision, if you have a higher calling, then just fucking chase it. Like there's nobody's gonna chase it for you. Nobody's gonna pursue your passions like you are. So just get after it.
Hmm. Hmm. Bravo. Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, there's only one you. There's only one person that's filled with the thoughts that you have. Like they're coming to you, man. Like if there's
Yeah.
something that you want to be, get after it. I agree. Man. All right. Well, hey, that was amazing, man. Thank you so much for your time. Again, listeners, if you're still listening, check out all of Mr. Trey's info down below. Follow him on Instagram and all of those things. Be prepared for what's coming next. If you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend. If you liked it, maybe leave a little comment and a positive review. Please follow Trey. And what do I always say at the end of every episode, if anybody ever gets this far, is if you haven't drank any water today, what's wrong with you, dude? Drink some water, some spring water at that. I
Bring
know I'm
water.
over here drinking my plastic bottle. It's time. It happens sometimes. But any water is better than absolutely no water, I would say, unless it's full of bacteria from the Amazon rainforest. Also,
Yeah.
stretch, guys. Love your body. Love yourself. Take some time to ask yourself about your identity. And we will see you next episode. Much love. Trey, thanks one more time, brother.
Yeah. Thank you.
Namaste. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Cheers.
The Junkyard Love Podcast.
At what age do we learn how to have better conversations? At what age do we learn to have better conversations with ourselves?
Knowledge is power.